I'm always very uncomfortable with with articles or documentaries about homelessness because the images they use are all of rough sleepers, and the implication being that these people have an alcohol problem or that they have a drug problem. And that might have been true 5 or 6 years ago, the majority of homeless people. But today that's totally out of date. The vast majority of homeless people today are becoming homeless simply because they don't have the money to pay for their own accommodation. So the problem with those images is that it creates the perception, first of all amongst the public, that homelessness is a personal problem that resides within the homeless person, that they have an addiction, they have an alcohol problem, or they have a major mental health problem. And therefore the public feel that maybe they're not either deserving of help, or the issues they have are far bigger than the public can do anything about. It creates a divide between the public and homeless people, which today is totally untrue. We have a young man, he's a single parent, he looks after 2 children, he's bringing up 2 children, he's doing a wonderful job, he's in private rented accommodation, he's been paying his rent for the last 7 or 8 years, never missed the rent, his place is kept beautifully, but the landlord's selling the house. And by Christmas he's going to be homeless with his 2 children. That's the new profile of homelessness, and I think we need to present that profile to the public so that the public see that almost any of us could end up homeless. And then the other problem is it doesn't just affect the public, it affects policymakers as well. If they constantly get this barrage of images that homeless people are all rough sleepers and alcoholics and drug addicts, then that shapes the policies that policymakers pursue in relation to rough sleeping. For example, the minister has indicated he wants to open another 200 emergency beds to deal with rough sleepers. However, many of the rough sleepers do not have an alcohol or drug problem. They are drug free, and the emergency beds are very likely to be a dormitory type accommodation where somebody will be sharing with active drug users. So there's no consideration given to the fact that today so many homeless people are not drug users, are not alcoholics. They are us and not them. There is a stigma attached to being homeless. As I say, the public perception is there must be something wrong with you if you are homeless. And that is so unfair to so many people who are homeless today. I know parents who become homeless with their families. They tell me that they're ashamed at admitting that they're homeless. Their children won't admit in school that they're living in a homeless shelter because they're afraid of being slagged and bullied by the other children. Parents will say they feel that they have failed their children, that they are bad parents because they've become homeless. One provincial town stated, when it was suggested that maybe some of Dublin's homeless families could relocate to other parts of Ireland, one provincial town said, no way, they're not coming here. We don't want Dublin's homeless coming down to us. And I felt like replying, maybe they'd lift up the area a little bit, but I resisted the temptation. That stigma that anybody who becomes homeless feels is very unfair on them. First thing that goes when you're homeless is your self-esteem. Your self-esteem hits rock bottom. And when you're placed in emergency accommodation, in dormitories full of drug users and full of people who are heavily involved perhaps in crime, you feel that you have hit rock bottom. This is where you are. This is the company now that you are associated with. Your self-esteem hits rock bottom, and many people come to me and say, I'm not going into those emergencies. I much prefer to sleep rough. And indeed, they retain a certain amount of dignity if they sleep rough, that rather than going into those shelters.